I'm Melissa Joan Hart, and I still, even after years of high school, I don't understand how planes fly. They're big pieces of metal, and they stay up in the air somehow. I don't get it.
Alan Nursall here at the Sudbury Airport, where I get to answer Melissa's question about how planes fly. And hey, there is no better way to figure out how planes fly than to enlist Canadian Forces Ambassadors of the Air, the Snowbirds. Hey, we spare no expense on Discovery Channel's Yaffies. Now, I had been offered a chance to fly with the Snowbirds, but unfortunately, they have a strict weight limit of 185 pounds. And, well, I haven't weighed that for about 20 years. It says Canadian Forces right here on the plane, which is appropriate because we've got to deal with the forces of flight. Captain Miles Ingram, what are those four forces of flight?
Two created naturally, drag and the force of gravity. And then there's two that we create by the airplane, lift and thrust.
And the engines do the thrust and the wings do the lift.
That's absolutely correct.
The key to flight, the thing that makes it unique, is the force called lift, which overcomes gravity and keeps you airborne. In order to understand how the plane gets off the ground, you've got to understand how the wing works, because the wing generates lift. Now, there is a popular explanation for this that involves something called the Bernoulli principle. And simply stated, it states that air, as it speeds up, causes the pressure to drop. Some wings are curved on the top, flat on the bottom, and as the air passes over the curved upper surface, it has to move faster. The pressure drops above the surface. It's higher below the surface. That generates lift. But you know what, folks? That's a lousy explanation, because it doesn't explain a whole bunch of things. For example, a plane like this can fly upside down for an awful long way. It also doesn't explain different shapes of aircraft wings. If you look at this wing in cross-section, you'll see that the top and bottom are virtually identical, curved on the top and curved on the bottom. You can't use the Bernoulli principle to explain the lift generated by this type of wing, and it doesn't really work that well for the other sorts of wings you'd find on fighter aircraft or on some of the very early fabric-covered aircraft like the Wright Flyer. So this means we have to look for a better physical explanation of how wings work, and we can use some of Newton's laws to do that. In order to better understand how a wing works, think about Newton's third law. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. If you want to go up, you have to push something down. And that's what a wing does. A wing generates lift because it diverts air downwards. As the wing passes through the air, it takes still air and moves it down, creates downward momentum in the air. That's the action. The reaction is that the airplane goes up. And the amount of lift in a wing is proportional to two things. It's proportional to the amount of air being diverted downwards, and it's proportional to the downward velocity. So think about that. If the airplane is moving slowly, say at takeoff or in slow level flight, you need to divert more air downwards because it's not moving very fast. So the airplane puts its nose up, the wing deflects more air downwards. As you move faster through the air, you can level off. The wing doesn't have to divert as much air down because the velocity is faster. That's really it in a nutshell. Grossly simplified nutshell, the wing diverts air downwards. That's the action. The reaction is the airplane lifts. There you go, Melissa. That's how airplanes fly. And, well, you're the famous TV witch, so I have a question for you. How the heck do these things fly?